The Baghdad Battery, an ancient mystery charged with modern curiosity. In the storerooms of the Iraq Museum once sat a small, unassuming object that challenged our assumptions about ancient technology. Known today as the Baghdad Battery, this artifact has sparked decades of debate among historians, archaeologists, and scientists. Was it simply a ritual container, or evidence that ancient civilizations understood electricity long before the modern age? The object itself is modest, a clay jar containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod, sealed with asphalt. It was discovered in the 1930s near Baghdad and dated to the Parthian or early Sasanian period, roughly between the 3rd century BCE and the 3rd century CE. The interpretation that transformed it from archaeological curiosity into global mystery came from Wilhelm Koenig, who suggested that the device could have functioned as a primitive battery. Koenig proposed that if the jar were filled with an acidic liquid such as vinegar or wine, it could generate a small electrical current, much like a modern galvanic cell. Experiments conducted decades later showed that reconstructions of the object could indeed produce low-voltage electricity. This discovery ignited popular imagination. Headlines asked whether ancient Mesopotamians had mastered electricity centuries before Alessandro Volta. If the Baghdad Battery truly functioned as an electrical device, what might it have been used for? One popular theory suggests electroplating, using electricity to coat objects with a thin layer of metal, such as gold or silver. Some ancient artifacts display metal coatings that appear unusually uniform, lending cautious support to this idea. Others have speculated about medical, religious, or even magical uses, where mild electric shocks might have been perceived as divine or supernatural. Yet many archaeologists remain skeptical. There is no written record from the period describing electricity, wiring, or systematic use of such devices. No clear electrical conductors have been found alongside the jars, and similar vessels may have served purely ceremonial or storage purposes. Critics argue that the battery interpretation may be an example of modern projection, seeing contemporary technology reflected in ancient forms. This debate highlights a broader tension in how we interpret the past. On one hand, history repeatedly shows that ancient societies were more technologically sophisticated than once believed. On the other, the desire for sensational discoveries can distort evidence. The Baghdad Battery sits precisely at this intersection, forcing scholars to balance open-mindedness with methodological caution. Culturally, the object has taken on a life beyond academia. It appears in documentaries, popular science magazines, and online discussions as a symbol of lost knowledge. For some, it represents the possibility that human innovation is cyclical rather than linear, that technologies can be discovered, forgotten, and rediscovered across centuries. Whether or not the Baghdad Battery was truly a battery may ultimately be less important than what it represents. It reminds us that the past is not silent or simple. Ancient people experimented, adapted, and problem-solved in ways that still surprise us. The small clay jar from Mesopotamia does not rewrite the history of electricity, but it does challenge our confidence in neat historical timelines. The Baghdad Battery remains charged not with electricity, but with questions. And in science and history alike, it is often questions, rather than answers, that drive discovery forward.